Tim, man, what's up? Welcome to the podcast, brother.
Good to be here, Daniel. It's nice to quickly chat with you too.
First and foremost, before I get into it, man, you're a U.S. veteran, so I have to say thank you for your service and everything that you guys do. Here's where I think is a good question to ask. So you launched your first project with $6,241.56 in your bank account. How do you remember that number to a T?
Yeah, I remember looking at it and realizing how much of a non-safety net I had, if that's a word. I remember realizing like, man, I don't really have much resources. I heard about, tech entrepreneurs that get backed or have millions and millions of dollars. And I thought to myself, I don't know if I need millions of dollars. I would like to have more than 6,000, but I remember specifically seeing that number in my account and thinking about risk tolerance.
You mentioned earlier that $6,000 number, where that's just the amount of money that you had when you were first trying to start something. Just on a side note, were you ever totally broke?
Yes. There was a time where I had to borrow money, and that was the first time I ever borrowed money. To kind of take you back in time, as a military vet, everything taken care of for the most part. The military covers your housing, they cover your food, they cover your transportation in most cases. When I was broke, I had to borrow $15,000 to finish a product. It needed to, and I think it was by necessity that created this energy, right? This positive forward momentum. So yes, I've been completely broke several times, but that's the first time that I was broke and I didn't like how I felt, and it became almost an emergency, if you will, to make something happen. It was either do or die. Unfortunately and fortunately, I work really well when the stakes are high and the resources are limited. It almost forces me to think more tactically, like the MacGyver approach, I guess.
I feel that. So there's also a lot of entrepreneurs today who are either have their back to the wall or have their backs close to the wall. So as someone that's went through that experience and someone that's been through that, what was your step one to getting toward where you wanted to go?
Philosophy, right? So our perspective matters. It shapes everything. So first off, if you are somebody that's going through that or wants to be prepared when and if that happens, I think the first philosophy is just to say, good, right? Now what? You're in the situation. If there's nothing that can get you out of it outside of digging up or digging through, start with good. And then the other philosophy or the mind trick, again, because perspective is the start to a decision, and decision decides your destiny. So creating that to be a successful sort of system or philosophy approach is to say I get to instead of I have to, because that will shift and change the way that you look at situations as well. It's I have to go to the gym, or I have to send this email, or I have to have the capability to read and comprehend and apply yourself. Those moments where things get challenging, which welcome to entrepreneurship, you just get better. So as the pilot, I think those two key philosophies will help you hurdle a whole conglomeration of different challenges.
Most software entrepreneurs typically have a software engineering background or went to one of these big business or tech schools, but you didn't have a computer science background or any of that big MBA experience either. So how did you get into the game with no experience?
Yeah, just enthusiasm and ignorance on fire. Truthfully, it was restlessness and discontent, which has always been the start to some of my change. I was about 30 miles north of Iraq in a control tower. There was a sandstorm outside and I had a cracked laptop. And it was during this moment. I'd been overseas for years and I had been wrestling with time. I would see quotes about time and I would get real restless about how I'm spending time for dollars. And I became obsessed with what can I do? I started writing things down. I have a green notebook that has every idea that was going to create freedom in my life. And most of them weren't able to pay me in the way that I wanted to be paid, both with time, freedom, income, and less stress. I didn't want to manage a bunch of people or light bills or infrastructure costs. So ultimately, long story short, software made sense. I had an idea, no formal education, and I went out and failed and learned. I failed forward enthusiastically and ultimately arrived at a place where I hit a home run, and that created belief.
So right now in this area where ad space is so expensive, how can someone generate leads for an ad?
Step one, it's very challenging to develop a platform. There's a lot of different ambiguities and things that'll kill you in the process to getting to the shipyard. So step one, assuming that you've got a great product out, the next milestone, the next challenge or hill to climb is definitely new client acquisition or sales. I see this so many times where great teams have awesome products, awesome team members, the right hearts, the right minds, but they suck at getting people into the door because it's a whole nother system or process. Again, and I'm assuming that people are bootstrapping. A vertical that I would highly suggest people tap into is direct outreach. And it's going to take some elbow grease. It's going to take some attention to how you're swinging the axe or throwing the pitch, if you will. But direct outreach, assuming, your product is more B2B, you should probably be doing direct outreach on LinkedIn. And I don't mean crafting a text message because that just flat out won't work. I highly recommend creating short videos of, hey, Daniel, my name's Tim. I built a product that does XYZ. I noticed that you do this. Hey man, if I set up a 10-minute demo, would you jump on with me? Cool. Look forward to connecting with you. Do that 100 times a day. And the reality is demos create dollars. And if you don't have one system proven that creates new client acquisition, you're screwed. That's just the reality. So video direct outreach, it's uncomfortable. You're going to suck at it at first. Do it anyway. But I'm a firm believer that if you're the product owner, you're the guy, you need to go the way and know the way so you can show the way. Approving a methodology of direct new client acquisition that's cold, that you can calculate and start to scale from is highly important.
Tim, really appreciate you talking about the journey, and thanks again for coming on the podcast.
It's been a pleasure, Daniel. Thank you.